Hi there, welcome back to JD Wire. Today I will tell you one of the most important things to do after you bought your dash cam, installed it, and set your settings. You need to format your micro SD card at least once a month or at least every 2 months. You're probably saying, I have loop recording and don't need to worry about formatting my SD card. You're partially right because loop recording is recording new files and deleting files at the same time. You also have G-Sensor adding locked files, and those locked files cannot be overridden with loop recording. So what is G-Sensor? G-Sensor is activated if you're in a collision and the dash cam locks the current footage. Also, the G-Sensor is activated by hard braking, potholes, or speed bumps, and it creates new locked files. To get that recording space back, you had to format your micro SD card. Some dash cams have a feature called Format Reminder. On this feature, you could set it to 15 days, 30 days, and 60 days, and I really like this feature. When used, it will remind you whatever days you set it, and I set mine on 30 days, so in 30 days, a prompt will come out, and it'll be like when you need to format your SD card, it'll have like format, or depending on your dash cam, but mine's always say format, yes or no. And that's what I do. I hit yes because I always know if I have an incident that I need to review, then I review it right away. Now, I also need to make sure that there's no files in the locked files that I need to save, but we'll get to that later. Format reminder, if you have this feature in your dash cam, please use that feature. Because I want you to think about this. Say you install the maximum gigabyte SD card in your dash cam. Now, depending on the resolution you have it set to, for example, 4K, 2K, or 1080p will determine how much space you have for loop recording. If you have a dash cam with a resolution of 4K, you'll have half the space you normally have with 1080p. But 4K is the new norm, and that's pretty much what you want. If you have 4K in your dash cam, set it to 4K. But let's take a look at this chart and get more in depth on what we're talking about. But make sure to subscribe to this channel for more dash cam tips. All right, so I opened up one of the Amazon Basics micro SD cards, and it's 128 gigabyte. And the reason I did this is because it's one of the most sold in Amazon, or it's Amazon choice, I guess. But if we go to the schematics about how much they cover, all right, we could see that 128 gigabyte when you record it in 4K UHD in 30 frames per second, because that's pretty much all the dash cams. Most of them, or majority of them, record under 30 frames per second, unless you're doing time-lapse recording, but that's something else. So if you go over here and you see that it's 264 minutes, but most vehicles have a front and rear dash cam. So your 264 divided by 2 is 132 minutes for the front and 132 minutes for the back. All right, well, that's pretty good. But if you really look at that, that's only an hour and a half of recording. So let's say it takes you 15 minutes to get to work. But the dash cam starts as soon as the car is started. It loads up and it starts. And then when you get to your destination, if you're grabbing stuff or whatever you're doing, when you turn off the car, that's when the recording time stops. So if your 15 minutes went to 17 minutes, 18 minutes, or 21 minutes, depending on how long it takes for you to leave and to get there. So let's say it's 18 minutes. We're going to add a minute and a half to start and a minute and a half when you get there. So you got that 18 minutes. Now the drive home, if we do the same, that's 36 minutes that has been taken off that hour and a half. So now you only have an hour left. So basically you're going to have 3 days of recording. Now that's just only if you come to work and back. Now if you stop at a store or it's the weekend, you go to some trips, all that is minus. So that 3 days could end up being 1 day. But we haven't talked about the G-Sensor. Now, most average loop recording times is 3 minutes. So, for example, let's just say your G-Sensor went off twice on the way to work and one back. So if you times that 3 by 3, that's 9 minutes. So that's 9 minutes less from your recording time. Now you times that 9 minutes by 3 days, well, that's 27 minutes. That's almost a half an hour. So every G-Sensor incident, anytime you go somewhere, is taking off your recording time. So that's why my recommendation is always get the maximum gigabyte of space for your dash cam. Because remember, we got the dash cam to record anything that happens to our vehicle or to ourselves. We want to make sure we get that time recorded. Now, most dash cams, when they have 4K, will have a minimum of 256. They could have a little bit less, but 256 is what you really want to start with. So if you're looking for a dash cam and it's 4K and the maximum is only 128 gigabyte, you might want to think about something else. Now, we haven't even talked about parking monitoring, because parking monitoring runs with G sensor. And depending on how the sensitivity you set it, for example, if somebody leans on your car, that's an incident and it'll record. Or if somebody bumps your car, that's also an incident. However, if you have time-lapse recording, again, that's another recording. The good thing about time-lapse recording, you could get a long period of time recorded in less space. Despite that, that's still space taken from your micro SD card. Now, there's a lot of dash cams with 4K that have a 512 gigabyte, so I recommend buying that 512. But this is the reason why we format our micro SD card at least once a month or every 2 months. The reason I say every 2 months is because if you forget, don't let it go past 2 months. But format your micro SD card at least once a month to ensure that you get the recording time you need. You're not missing any incidents because Loop Recording was unable to record because of the locked files. All right, let's get back. If this video has been helpful for you, please like this video because it really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate that from you. Over time, your use of the SD card can become fragmented and cluttered. The fragmentation can lead to slower read and write speeds, potentially affecting the dash cam performance. By formatting the SD card, you start with a clean slate. When you format your SD card, all existing data is erased, freeing up the entire space for future recording. This is particularly useful if you want to make sure you have enough room for loop recording. Now, I've heard people say in my comments, I have an accident and my dash cam didn't record anything. Why does it say my SD card is full if I have loop recording? Or why does my SD card say formatted? If the dash cam storage is full of locked files, it will not save any new driving footage while you're driving. This is why those alerts are displayed on your dash cam. This also means that important driving footage might not be recorded and saved. To avoid this, it's important to format your micro SD card at least once a month or every 2 months. Before you format your SD card, which we're talking about earlier, make sure to do this. First, review the log files of your dash cam. Were there any incidents that need to be saved, or were the footage road conditions, meaning speed bumps, hard braking, and so forth? Third, copy important locked files to a separate storage device, such as a computer or external hard drive. Fourth, lower your G sensor sensitivity to reduce the number of unnecessary files. What I mean by this is, was it road conditions? Like, again, speed bumps, hard braking, and so forth. And if it was, lower it down. If you have it set on high, set it to medium. If it was medium, set it to low. That's what it needs. So if this video was helpful for you, please like this video because it really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and select all notifications for all upcoming videos, because I also do more dash cam tips, dash cam reviews, installations, and other tech gadgets. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.